Be habit forming. From Malmö in Sweden, the latest from our daily newsletter at podnews.net. At Radio Days Europe here in Malmö in Sweden, Edison Research's Tom Webster argued that habit is the number one growth opportunity for podcasting, recommending that podcasters consider how to produce consistent shows that keep people coming back week after week. He was speaking alongside Denmark Radio's Rasmus Kidde. CoHost, a new podcast publishing, analytics and growth platform, has just launched. The launch coincides with the release of CoHost's first annual Podcaster Insights survey, which found that audience growth is the main challenge podcasters face. The platform has been created by Quill Podcasting. At Radio Days Europe, Acast's Daniela Murphy highlighted good podcast ad creative in a session about monetization. She gave 10 commandments for good creative. Rob Greenlee from Libsyn's Advertisecast also gave an overview of podcast monetization. In a session about the future of podcasting at Radio Days Europe, Sounds Profitable's Brian Barletta suggested that the podcast industry still has a long way to go to understand the possibilities of technology already available to it. Elsewhere, Acast has integrated with Podcastle, an all-in-one solution for podcasters. Podnow is an Australian company doing pop-up podcast studios for conferences. For the Earbuds Podcast Collective, Chip Colwell, the editor-in-chief of Sapiens magazine, chooses 5 podcast episodes to recommend this week about rewriting Black and Indigenous histories. And Media Monitors has published its PodRank for Q1 2022. Based on interviewing just over 1,000 people, the data says that iHeartMedia is number 1 for podcasts, and the company says NPR is conspicuously absent from the top publisher list this quarter. Well, our opinion, this top publisher data, is based on the number of podcasts in the top 100. It's not based on audience reach, nor is it based on audience downloads. And while data from PodTrack and Triton Digital is incomplete, both align well with publisher data we already have from Edison Podcast Metrics, a more robust survey of the whole space. To suggest that NPR isn't in the top 10 of US podcast publishers is obviously untrue, but it's helpful narrative for its competitor iHeartMedia. And coincidentally, iHeartMedia owns Media Monitors, a fact not disclosed. And thank you to CoHost for becoming our latest gold supporter as part of the company's launch today. You make a great podcast. We help you grow it, they say. We thank you for your support of our independent journalism. And you can be like them at podnews.net/support. And in People News, Jack Preston has been promoted to Global Head of Acast Creative. He's been with Acast since January 2019. And it's a Monday, so time for some tech stuff. Lightning addresses like james@getalbi.com, that's mine, are an easier way to send cryptocurrency. The Podcast Index is looking into how to support those. The Value for Value podcast showcases how Adam Curry and Dave Jones are highlighting the monetization method. And the Podcast Index is also working on a failover iTunes endpoint, useful for quick and instant failover for the Apple iTunes API that many use for a podcast directory. And in podcast news, Lemonada Media's In the Bubble has Andy Slavitt and policymakers, journalists and thought leaders Monday, Wednesday and Friday to stay informed, safe and entertained. We thank them for their support this month. And in Testimony, a true crime podcast, a new series trying to find answers to an unsolved case about an unidentified body on Seaham Beach in the north of England. Reporter Fiona Thompson is the host, taking us through the story from 2006. It's from Laudable and the Sunderland Echo. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.